Early 2010s YouTube. If you enjoyed yourself a YouTube gameplay at that time, or any form of content really, you partook in a great age of YouTube. Or so, that's what the nostalgia in me is saying. If you're familiar with the platform, you know that every week or two there always seemed to be a single game that was the biggest trend you'd see on everybody's gameplay channels. There comes a point in time in everyone's life, or several for that matter, where we do a little thing called self-reflection. One day we just think back to whatever made us during our childhood.
What's going on, guys? This is Jugga Conroy, and I'm actually
For the people who watch YouTube, you might get recommended an old video, and as you watch it again, you might think to yourself, why did I watch this? Well, today I'll be answering that question for one game in particular that really stuck with me. Papers, Please. Papers, Please is an indie dystopian simulation game about managing and controlling an immigrant population on the border of Arstotzka, a fictional country who just came out of war with the neighboring country of Galicia. You play as an immigration inspector who won the job off of a labor lottery, and is responsible for keeping the good guys in and the bad guys out. Or at least, that's what they want you to think on the surface level. Because everyone showing their face at your checkpoint has a story. They could be a law-abiding citizen who couldn't renew their passport in time, or a criminal mastermind who has all of the right documents. Regardless of their stories, your country ultimately wants you to do everything by the book. If all of their documents are correct and in order, you let them through. Any discrepancies found on the documents, you give them the red stamp. Now, you're probably wondering, how's a game about paperwork fun? Well, I'll tell you right now, that's not all there is to it. As I've said before, every person has a story. How you determine who should and shouldn't be let in is determined not only by the rulebook, but by your morals and principles. And that's where this game really shines. Anyways, with all the introductions out of the way, let's get into the game itself. For our first run through the game, we are going to play the game as our country intends it. We are going to do our job and we are going to do it right. No exceptions or free passes for anyone. The game starts off pretty nice and simple. Any citizen of Arstotzka is allowed to pass and any foreigner is to be denied. Now, you'll see there are a good amount of people who aren't from Arstotzka, so I assume that these people weren't told that the checkpoint only accepts citizens. It doesn't take an expert to see why this is problematic. Yeah, like that. Now, you see how this guy says he waited 8 hours in line just to come up and be denied? Well, you got this smug bastard who struts into the checkpoint, says it was a mistake to open this checkpoint, then just leaves? Now, if that doesn't get the point across, I don't know what will. I wouldn't be surprised if the checkpoint was closed tomorrow.
You suck!
Ah, so that's how it is. Entrants now are required to get a ticket to pass through. If you ask me, it's more like a repeated tax on immigrants each time these attacks happen. Last attack was someone climbing over the border wall. How is an entry ticket supposed to prevent that? Here is where we meet our first interesting character. Even if you haven't played the game, you probably have an idea of who this is. He shows up with absolutely nothing and claims that Arstotzka is so great that a passport is not needed. Can't fault the man for trying. After one day, the entry ticket is deemed invalid and an entry permit replaces this. All the money spent on tickets after yesterday is down the drain. The game really starts to pick up now in terms of decision making. Like this woman here wants to see her son after 6 years, but her papers are not correct. These are situations where you have to decide to commit to the rules or stretch them for someone's story. Sorry, I'm loyal to my country on this run. If you really want to see him, you will have gotten your papers in order. Or at least that's what my country wants me to say. I failed to mention this before, but at the end of each day, you have an entire family to support. So every day in the job, you are working for them, and every wrong decision you make is going to reflect on your paycheck. Just another thing to consider. In this game, you really develop a sort of sixth sense. Like when someone is talking nice to you, you really expect that their papers are going to be wrong and you have to deny them, but you really don't want to because they were so nice to you. But in this case, this man's fine. Yep, her papers are wrong. You're going to be killed if you return to your country? Sorry, I don't take my chances. Just a few days ago, someone hopped the border all because entry tickets weren't a thing. Georgie shows up a second time to turn in his school art project, and we end the day off there. Next, we unlock the ability to detain suspicious individuals, and we do just that to a most wanted criminal. The next day, we have a woman tell us about a guy who will force her into a brothel if he's let through. Yup, I guess we're doing this again.
What is this shit?
Now the next day, we've got ourselves a smuggler, and he's offering money to let him through. This is my favorite feature in the game, how could you tell? Now there's an intimidating hooded man in front of me, and he's giving me a paper with Corman Drex on it. Corman Drex appears on the same day, but I'm not going to give him the note. Regardless, a second Drex appears and just does not leave without the note. Quite a discreet organization you've got. He hands you another note about Ezic being a secret organization seeking to cleanse the corruption of Arstotzka, and he needs our help continuing their plans. As a humble officer of Arstotzka, I respectfully decline. For now. We'll get to them later. Hello, sir. Your papers? That Ezic deal still available? I want out. Alright, what's next? Sure it wasn't that last guy? Okay. There's been a lot of strange things going on, and that's why a Ministry of Information agent is here to interrogate me. I can name a few, yeah. Oh yeah, I've seen them. Take a look. Okay, let's not show him the group who wants to undermine the government like the great Arstotzkan citizen we are. Ah, there's a familiar face. Wait a minute, you're not Georgie.
And then I started seeing it everywhere I looked, all these fucking pricks. You are
There's the real one. And look at this, he's got all the correct papers. It may have taken him several tries, but now he is finally in the clear to create his cloning lab in Arstotzka. Here comes another attack, and we now move on to the next day. Since the feds don't like how frequently these happen, they want yet another form of ID. An ID supplement. Hold on, how is that expired? This is literally the first day they're in effect. Anyways, there is some good to these ID supplements. Like the amazing descriptions you get from them. Like, tall forehead. Small head. And my personal favorite, killer sideburns. This is the point in the game where things get kind of hectic. There are just so many things to look out for, with upwards of up to 4 different documents you have to make sure are correct, while at the same time making sure you aren't taking too much time examining a single person. It also definitely doesn't help when you have people like this man, who tells us he has to get life-saving surgery in Arstotzka, but his documents aren't in order. It sucks to do it, but we have lives to protect here too. Sometimes they just get you sitting here thinking, what's the right thing to do? Except for this guy. Don't be like this guy. He's a fraud and an idiot. Whoa, I did not sign up for this. This day is just amazing due to the fact that this man is straight up chilling with a bomb at a populated checkpoint. Yeah, I don't know why they're numbered.
In Soviet Russia.
This is the only instance this happens. It would be nice if this was expanded upon later with more complex bombs, because the normal wall attacks get kind of old. What's that? Another attack? Sorry, I'm busy talking to my man Marcus Crockless. Moving on to one of my favorite characters in this game, Sergey. He's a green guard who introduces himself upon first appearing and is kind to us. Things that no one else has shown for us during our time here. It's nothing over the top, he's just showing some basic human decency. Something that's scarce working this job. Well, there he goes. Back to working with the weirdos. This guy is apparently 195 centimeters on his ID card. But he really is 185. And his excuse is new shoes? I thought he would be canned for sure, but apparently he's telling the truth? You'd think he'd be asked to take off his shoes for the documenting of his passport. And now we have this smartass who comes in, we tell him what's wrong and deny him. And when we do, he asks why he was denied.
Screw you though.
And after dealing with all of that, we use that money to buy ourselves an expensive crayon set. He gives us a drawing that's suspiciously close to Georgie's art style, that we bring to work and hang in the wall just for Officer Man to stroll in and fine me for unofficial wall hangings. And now he has the nerve to ask me to stretch the rules to let his lady friend through? As much as I love detaining, this moment may have topped it. Well, that moment was short-lived. Coming home, we find out our sister was arrested. Well, if we didn't have enough mouths to feed already, welcome to the family, niece. Oh, that's more like it. Georgie comes back to show us something special, and it was really drugs. At this point in the game, besides the usual person, you've got 3 other types of people making your life hell. There's people seeking asylum. These people aren't too bad, just verify the fingerprints and you're good to go. There's diplomats, but it's just me, or does it seem like every diplomat who comes through is a phony, including this person? Literally on the most wanted chart. And the workers, don't even get me started on the workers, man. 4 different papers you have to verify, along with the stamp that can be faked. And IDs and dates, and this shit can get stressful. Oh well. At least this engineer fellow gives us some business cards that we can give to other engineers and make money and a shiny token from doing so. Thanks, guy. Yeah! Okay, now this is a part of the game I don't really see making sense. When you're crossing the border into another country, especially one as strict as Arstotzka, you should know damn well what you're coming to do. This man hands me his entry permit and working papers. Oh, so he's working? Nope, he thinks he's transiting. Or how about this man who says he's transiting through the country for a year? Oh wait, sorry. Is a year not enough time to travel through the country? Sorry, how about forever? I will be traveling through the country into another country forever. If a person slips up and corrects themselves when confronted about it, that's a red flag. But if you deny them after it, you get a citation. But if you let them through but you don't call them out on it, you get a citation as well. The correct way to not get a citation is to confront them. Then if they correct it and everything else is good, they are cleared for entry. I can't help but think I just let a terrorist in who made a slip of the tongue. Oh god damn it. Oh hey, Sergio. Remember on the first day of the job when you told me that you'll do your best to protect me? Yeah, it's actually the other way around. I mean, what is this? But it's alright, he admits it and he's nice about it, so I'll give him a pass. Oh no, now what did he do this time? After many more grueling days, we have yet another predicament. An epidemic of polio erupts in the neighboring country of United Federation. So, you guessed it, we are to deny any from there. And this person wants to visit friends in the middle of it. This is hitting too close to home. Here we have a woman who is from United Fed, but she doesn't have an entry permit. So we could use that as a reason. Apparently not, our guy just wants to grill her. What do you mean all this paperwork? You don't even have an entry permit. After all that, Sergey comes in and he has a request. The next day she arrives and, surprise surprise, she only has a passport. It's up to you whether or not you let her in. Okay, this is a person who is in close relation to an Arstotzkan officer. And secondly, Sergey is the only person who has been nice to us throughout working in this hellhole. And how can you say no to that? This is one of the things I have to do in every single run of the game, because I will feel like a horrible human being if I don't, unlike in the short film.
Простите меня.
Upon accepting her, you get this nice little cutscene. I mean, not real cutscene, I'm still dealing with bums on the left, but how sweet. This isn't even a joke, this happened on the exact same day. Sergey could die in this attack as well, so you know I'm sweating my nuts off for these shots. The next day, Sergey comes in and he tells you that it is his last day at the checkpoint. He thanks us for everything and tells us he'll name his first son after us. Not only that, but him and Elisa give us a gift of $100. That being the fourth reason why you should do this every single run of your game. The Ministry of Information tells us about suspicion in their government officials, who may be associating with suspicious groups, and an interview will be conducted on the 24th of December, but we don't have anything to worry about because we've been doing nothing of the sort. After that, we're just straight chilling until Judgment Day. During one of our days, we have a man who tries to persuade us to let him in with a badly written note. You are hot like fire. You, object of desire. You, again, wrap my heart in wire. Approved. Approve my visa. A few entrants later, you have a man who tells you he's depressed and there is no one out there that loves him. Give him the note and he will light up from the message and give you the Kolechia token. A couple days and many vaccination certifications later, we arrive on the last day, the day of our inspection. It wouldn't be our last day without a visit from Georgie, who says he struck it big and gives us a share of the money. And it definitely won't be our final day without another one of these. No. Let's not end our journey on that. Let's end it on a positive note. Going back, we have denied and detained Georgie multiple times, and I can't recall one time he was angry with us. And if that wasn't enough, he has us in his mind after he strikes it rich. I could see why everyone loves this character so much. And just like that, we arrive at our inspection. And that's that. We've done our job and we've done it right. Well, mostly. But that isn't all there is to this game. If you recall earlier, there were these hooded men that kept appearing, saying their goal was to cleanse Arstotzka of its corruption. That and more will be covered in our next section. If you've made it this far and haven't played the game yet, I highly recommend doing so. The things I've covered in this section is only scratching the surface of the events that happen in the game, and it would be great to experience it all for yourself. With that out of the way, we move on to the next section. So, you're probably wondering why we'd want to side with these hooded men. Well, you might have seen previously that there were 20 different endings. The majority of them are bad endings and are pretty simple to get, so I'll go through them quickly. First ending is when you are so shit at your job that you receive so many citations that leads to you owing the government a pretty penny. Arstotzka has zero tolerance for delinquency. Your family will be sent back to their village. The penalty is death. Just kidding, I'm only throwing in the slammer until my debts are paid off. Which should be in no time. My son is going to make a fortune. The second ending, your entire family dies due to lack of heat and or food. But that's not all, you're out of the job because you lack a family. Third ending, you saw that before. You get arrested by showing the agent the Ezic papers. Endings 5, 6, 7, and 8 all consist of shooting either a civilian or guard during a terrorist attack. If you use the lethal rifle, you are put to death, and if you trank them, you are put into forced labor. But this is where it gets really stupid. Ending 11, if the red officer man catches you putting your son's drawing on the wall for a second time, God forbid, you are put into forced labor for violating direct orders. Ending 12, if you choose to detain the woman that red officer man wants you to let through, you're arrested by him the next day. You're also charged for damage to Arstotzkan property and put into, you guessed it, forced labor. The corruption of Arstotzka is pretty implied through the game, but these two endings is a direct showing of how power hungry the officials can be, with the wrongful imprisonments and the forced labor. Not only that, but you will notice these privileges are also somewhat applied to you. We go over to this man who says he currently doesn't have the right papers and promises he will return with the correct papers, and as proof he asks you to hold on to his family treasure, a digital watch. Not only that, but he slides some credits your way. If you deny him, he will ask for the watch back, but you get the option to detain him and just outright steal the watch and money. And want to know what happens to you after this scummy act? Absolutely nothing. You sell the watch and go on with your business. Yes, you can wrongfully imprison a man and steal his belongings and nothing will happen to you, but hanging a family picture on the wall? Forced labor. So, you want to side with the mysterious cult looking guys? Well, let's get right into it. Now, since we're siding with the anti-government guys, in this run we are going to ignore the law. Let's see what it's like to help out some of these poor folks at the checkpoint. Here's a lady we denied before, the one who hasn't seen her son in 6 years. She's got an expired document, but you know what, I'll let it slide. She thanks us and awards us with an import token. More familiar faces. It's the husband and wife from before. As we know, the husband has the right papers, but the wife only has the passport. We will let her live this time, and because of that, she gives the Integrity token. On the second week on the job, a hooded messenger comes in and hands the inspector a card. When flipping it over, it reads the name Corman Drex. We've seen this before. The guy named Corman Drex comes later in the day, and you can choose not to give him the papers. And then the day after, another Corman Drex comes and outright says, "My name is Corman Drex. I believe you have something of mine." Arstotzka is a great country poisoned by corrupt leaders. War has made government greedy and paranoid. You have seen for yourself. Help us free Arstotzka from its shackles. The Order of the Ezic Star. Upon giving him the paper, he hands over a card that seemingly has a coded message. The day after, a messenger arrives and tells you that their agents are ready starting tomorrow and hands you a decoder. Upon lining it up with the dots on the top corners of the paper, you get the names Mikhail Saratov and Stephanie Greer. Saratov arrives first and he doesn't have the correct documents. Well, we're no stranger to sacrifices at this point. When we read the paper the next day, it seems that the agent sabotaged the metro, as conveniently marked by the red Ezic symbol. Greer is easier to miss because she arrives days after you get the decoder, making her easier to forget. But she also doesn't have the correct documents. Why though? You had the correct documents for Corman Drex. Why can't the actual important agents get them? It would be much less of a hassle, and most importantly, they wouldn't have to rely on the cooperation of an Arstotzkan official. One more thing, why did they encode the names when they gave me a paper with the dude's actual name on it, and he comes into the booth saying, "I'm Corman Drex"? I get they want to be secret with the important agents, but these guys literally mentioned the order upon being accepted, so what's the point? Okay, I get it. It's a game, and it's a feature to create an interesting challenge. It seems that Greer's job was to target a government headquarters, good stuff. The next task they assign us is another agent, huh? We're given a new decoder but no cipher. Okay, lacking documents, has to be an Ezic agent, right? Yep. Before departing, they tell you that the red man is not all that bad. Who, this guy? I beg to differ. Next, Ezic asks you a pretty tall order. They want you to poison a guy named Khalid Istam, who is an assassin who has intel on Ezic agents in Arstotzka. Well, I don't see why not. We just have to follow the directions on the packet like so, and... This time, let's turn the packet the other way around, and doing that, we verify that we did in fact poison the man, and we get away scot-free. It turns out that the man in red is actually yet another assassin who is in line, and Ezic asks you to sacrifice yourself by shooting him after they create a distraction. You know, the poison trick worked really well. I don't think I have to kill myself for it. Maybe a poison that doesn't kill him instantly? Regardless, they want you to shoot someone, broad daylight, for the organization you knew for not even 2 weeks. If you're insane and decide to shoot the guy... Who saw that coming? And they don't even advance. When you put it all together, it just doesn't seem worth it. You're going to kill a random person and be put to death. The frame of murdering an innocent will be forever tied to your name. Your own family will think of you as a murderer. All for what? Saving the organization's people in the country? And on top of that, it isn't even worth it in the end because Ezic suffers from this as well. If you just continue on, just like the many other things you do in Arstotzka, there are absolutely no consequences. So there really is no point in killing him. The final mission that Ezic gives you is the most interesting one. A top-level collection diplomat going to discuss matters with Arstotzka is arriving at the checkpoint, and Ezic asks you to confiscate his passport. After that, they will send an agent disguised as a diplomat to take his passport. Yo, is that Pedro Pascal? He'll ask for the passport, and once entered into Arstotzka, he will spoil the negotiations, prompting everyone to believe that collections are insane. And finally, after all of your cooperation, Ezic tells you that they are coming to break down the wall, coincidentally on the day of your audit. Oh yeah, forgot to mention this guy's still in my ass. They will break down the wall, but instead of stopping them, we just sit back and watch the fireworks. Well, that's that. Despite some of the confusing features of their tasks, it was fun going for this ending, and it's probably my favorite one. We have one more important ending to go for, and it's coming up next. Regardless of your affiliation with Ezic during the course of the game, on the 29th day, Georgie will have this conversation with you. My man even hooks us up with his own passport. You're probably wondering why I would want to leave the country for Obristan. Well, this is a pretty favorable option if you don't want to associate with Arstotzka or Ezic. In fact, in order to get the Ezic ending, you have to complete 4 out of the 5 tasks they give you. If you don't do at least 4, on the day they blow up the border wall, they just end up killing you. Remember when Ezic says their cause does not involve harming citizens? Well, they just blew up Babe Ruth, who was standing in the checkpoint with me. If you stop their attack on the wall, you won't die. Yet. That doesn't stop the audit from happening, and I'm just gonna let this play out. Is that not the creepiest thing you've ever seen? Well, after reviewing our options, if we did an Ezic task or a few, but not enough for them to trust us, the only thing we have left to do is flee to Obristan. Getting the passports is simple enough. The only requirement of them is being from Obristan, and the only consequence is a citation for unauthorized confiscation. At the end of each day, you'll have the option to escape to Obristan. If you don't have the sufficient amount of passports or money, you can only escape with a limited number of family members. In this case, I'm loaded and have 6 passports, so we are good to go. And that's it, that is every good ending there is to Papers, Please. I tried to include every bad ending as well, but I feel like some of them are kind of redundant to show in the video. What I will talk about for a little is Endless Mode. I did try it for a bit, but it really was just Papers, Please without the please. Because you're just trying to get points by correctly inspecting as much documents as you can. So, Papers, Please. Is it worthy of the praise I received years ago? I'd say yes. It has a very interesting concept that you would think would get boring after a while. But the great story and different events that happen keep you going day by day. It was created by a single developer, and I think the price point really helped its popularity at the time, since it's only $10 on Steam. I did have a few criticisms that I expressed through the videos, but I have one more. It's nothing major or expected, just a quality of life change. I feel like there weren't enough responses by the default civilian throughout the game. Like when confronting someone, I can't count the amount of times I get the response, "Oh?" They all kind of felt the same in that regard. Other than that, the other characters are great and make up for the normal citizen. Alright everyone, if you'll excuse me, I'll... Did you wait the entire video just to tell me that? Oh.